Good morning. I am Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, and I am honored to be joined by colleagues in law enforcement and government to announce this important matter in an important space. The collaboration between law enforcement in this area is second to none, and I'm really honored to be a part of this team that's brought forward this case today, but more broadly is really leading the fight against illegal gun trafficking in our country. So I'm pleased to be joined by Deputy Commissioner of Intelligence and Counterterrorism for the NYPD, Rebecca Weiner, Darren McCormick, Deputy Special Agent in charge of HSI New York. I don't know where folks are behind me, so thank you. Assistant Inspector in charge, John Del Giudice, Assistant Inspector in charge of the U.S. Postal Inspection Services New York Division, and ATF New York Special Agent in charge, Brian Miller. This partnership, as I said, is second to none, and today's case is sort of emblematic of that, but the broader work is something that I'm extraordinarily proud of, and I'm really, really deeply honored to work side by side with the team in my office that leads this work, ADA Bonnie Siok, all the way behind the poster board, which is consistent with her low profile but dedicated hard work. We'll have to get her to step out from behind there at a certain point. And the chief of our Rackets Bureau, who I think is out there somewhere, Jody Kane, and acting chief of our investigation division, and Judy Solomon, the principal deputy. Look, this partnership, both internally and externally, is exceptional. I want to talk about this specific matter, the indictment today against Hayden Espinosa, who we allege sold and attempted to sell weapons and gun parts to an undercover NYPD officer while he was in federal prison. I will say that again. Attempted to and did sell guns and gun parts while he was in federal prison from a prison cell. As a result, he is charged in a New York State Supreme Court indictment with 4 counts of transport of a firearm, machine gun, silencer, or disguised gun, and 1 count of attempted criminal sale of a firearm in the 3rd degree. The joint investigation of this matter began in December 2022 after we uncovered that Espinosa, who, as I said, was already in federal prison, was advertising and selling illegal firearms. His main vehicle for doing so was through the messaging app Telegram, where he was the moderator of a channel called 3D Amendment, which is a hub for racially and ethnically motivated extremism. We see this sad and tragic combination far too often of the intersection of gun violence and gun trafficking and hate and extremism. It is very, very disturbing, and it's something about which this group collectively has been quite vigilant. Using the Telegram app, Espinosa, we allege, through contraband cell phones, sold weapons and parts on Telegram, including eventually selling weapons to an undercover NYPD officer who was vigilantly monitoring this space and this Telegram channel. From August to November 2023, Espinosa, we allege, made or attempted to make 3 separate sales to that undercover officer. The first were 2 auto sears, one for an AR-15 style rifle and another for a Glock style handgun. For those who may not know, auto sears are a rapid fire modification device which can transform a semi-automatic firearm into a machine gun. Incredibly powerful devices, and we are soberly seeing their prevalence continue to grow. After that, next, we allege he attempted to sell a Glock 19 handgun, and finally sold, we allege, 2 silencers. As I said, the confluence, the intersection of guns and extremism is something that we have seen and continuing to see, and it's something that we are really trying to fight, not just through individual cases, but as some of you know, we've been trying to fight this next frontier through legislation, proposing legislation and working with electeds in Manhattan to try to get legislation passed that would address the swapping of the CAD files, those kind of sketches that are needed to produce these 3D printed diagrams, and then also to criminalize the manufacturing of ghost guns. It's currently now in New York. The possession is illegal, but the manufacture is not. And so that did not pass this session, but with the announcement of this case today, it seems like an appropriate time to renew quite urgently the call to focus on that in the next legislative session. I'll do a few housekeeping notes before I turn it over to our true gun and hate crime and extremism experts. Espinosa is currently in the custody of local Louisiana authorities on our outstanding arrest warrant. He'll be extradited to New York later this month. We expect him to be arraigned in New York State Supreme Court on June 24th. So I thank you, and I now want to turn it over to our phenomenal Deputy Commissioner Weiner.
Thank you. Thank you so much, DA. We will say the word partnership over and over at this press conference, as we always do, but it really cannot be overstated. It has become part of our collective DNA as agencies, and it is the only way that we grapple with the complexity of the threats that we're dealing with today. Good morning, I'm Rebecca Weiner. I'm the NYPD's Deputy Commissioner for Intelligence and Counterterrorism, and the indictment that is being announced today is the culmination of a long-term investigation by all of these partners you see on this stage, led by the investigators and the analysts in our racially and ethnically motivated REMI task force team, which was stood up a couple of years ago in recognition of the growing threats around accelerationism, white supremacy, neo-Nazi ideology. In this case, it is a gun case, but it has elements of all of that. And it's an excellent example of how, in today's world, even straightforward crime often has a very multidimensional backdrop, as was the case with this investigation. So this case spans multiple states: Ohio, Louisiana, Texas, North Carolina, and of course New York, where we are and where the nexus of activity occurred. It also represents sustained partnership by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, with whom we have worked on case after case after case, led by this team here, involving ghost guns and other firearms trafficking matters. HSI, ATF, Postal Inspections, Bureau of Prisons, and of course NYPD. And the DA mentioned the word confluence. This really is the confluence of multiple threats, and we see this not just here, but elsewhere across the country and around the world. The first one, of course, is the scourge of illegal firearms and gun parts. In this case, sold in an informal online marketplace run from federal prison, which was astounding when we first came across the openness with which this illegal conduct was being engaged in online, hidden by the encrypted platforms, which give folks a false sense of security. So this defendant, who was serving time for selling unregistered machine gun parts, selling guns and gun parts from the comfort of his cell, the NYPD took roughly 6,500 illegal guns off our streets in 2023. We're on track this year to do the same. We've recovered so far nearly 3,000 in 2024. And whether these guns are 3D printed at home, sold on the streets, or on Discord, or on Telegram, we're going to keep doing everything in our power to prevent them from being used in acts of violence like the horrific mass shooting that led the REMI team to find this Telegram chat to begin with, the top supermarket terrorist attack in Buffalo that was just over 2 years ago today. The second element, of course, is the perniciousness of race-bait hate, the spread of neo-Nazi ideology online that was so horrifically demonstrated by the top supermarket attack, and marbled in this case into discussions about selling illegal guns and parts on Telegram that the defendant transacted business on, are images of white supremacist paramilitary groups overseas, dressed in fatigues, saluting Hitler, vile rhetoric, neo-Nazi iconography, imagery, all with the overlay of the criminality. And third, without which none of this could actually happen, is the digital ecosystem that enables this confluence. The darknet marketplace that sells stolen credit card numbers and fraudulent ID documents, and the encrypted platforms where unfortunately hate and radicalization can flourish. So these overlapping threats require the partnership that we're here demonstrating. And the men and women here today who are doing these cases embody the strength of working as a collective to contend with all of these threats. So thank you so much, and I'm going to turn it over to our partners at HSI.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is, excuse me, Darren McCormack. I'm the Deputy Special Agent in charge for Homeland Security Investigations here in New York. I oversee our National Security and Public Safety Division. And keeping in line the theme of partnership, it's a privilege to be here alongside my esteemed colleagues from all levels of law enforcement as we stand together against those who brazenly traffic illegal black market weapons and parts. Excuse me. Hayden Espinosa is not a stranger to federal law enforcement. HSI New York became familiar with he and his activities through about 2 years ago through our colleagues at HSI Corpus Christi, Texas. In 2021, HSI Corpus was collaborating with the ATF, the U.S. Postal Service, and the Corpus Christi Police pursuant to an illicit firearm investigation resulting in Mr. Espinosa's conviction and landing him in a federal prison for 33 months. Regardless of the penalties that he faced for this 33-month sentence, Mr. Espinosa was undeterred and his illegal activity continued. As you heard, Mr. Espinosa was so brazen that he allegedly purchased and facilitated the trafficking of firearms and accessories from the confines of a Louisiana federal penitentiary. The investigation indicated that he allegedly served as a moderator of Telegram channels where Mr. Espinosa and other members of the forum were assessed to hold racially and ethnically motivated violent extremist ideologies, including white supremacist, neo-Nazi iconography, and paraphernalia that is indicative of the National Socialist ideology. These social media forums were used by other members to engage in criminal activities involving the sale of self-made or 3D printed firearms, automatic sears, and switches. As you also heard, one of the Discord channels as part of this investigation was frequented by the Buffalo shooter in the month prior to his shooting at the Tops Friendly Market in Buffalo, New York. Today's announcement highlights the impact of law enforcement collaboration. We recognize the vital importance of standing together for the greater good. Alone, the work of any of these agencies is state-of-the-art, but together, our investigative capabilities are truly unmatched. It's alarming to think the amount of havoc that these high-powered weapons and parts could have wreaked on the streets if sold by Espinosa, could have had in our communities had this investigation not been as successful. Special agents assigned to the HSI Counterproliferation Investigations Division are uniquely trained in identifying and investigating individuals and groups intent on illegally obtaining weaponry, U.S. military products, sensitive technology, chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons. Regardless of where the work takes us, we operate with one goal in mind, and that's the safety and security of the American public. I commend the outstanding investigative work of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, the New York City Police Department, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, and the United States Postal Inspection Service for their unending commitment to keeping New Yorkers safe. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is John Del Giudice, and I'm the Assistant Inspector in Charge of the Postal Inspection Service, New York Division. Thank you all for your time this morning. This case highlights the dedicated work of law enforcement to keep the streets of New York and all our communities free from illegal handguns. As postal inspectors, our mission is to protect employees who serve our communities, our customers, the American public, and the U.S. mail that reaches every home in America. And protecting these important things is what brings us all here today. As you've just heard, Mr. Espinosa, who while imprisoned, allegedly operated an underground communication channel called 3D Amendment, used this service to communicate with other individuals in the advertising and sale of illegal firearms and firearm parts used to manufacture ghost guns. Mr. Espinoza thought that he could conduct his criminal activities anonymously, but when you use the mail for illegal activities, postal inspectors will shine a spotlight on your actions, and together with our law enforcement partners, we will bring you to justice. Ghost guns are designed to circumvent legal rules and regulations, and pushing these manufactured guns and gun parts onto our streets leads to illicit activities being committed with the use of these illegal firearms, crimes that endanger our communities and shatter families. Postal inspectors are deeply concerned about the number of illegal guns and gun parts on our streets. We are working aggressively at all levels of our organization to prevent illegal firearms from getting into the hands of criminals. Ultimately, our goal, along with our partners, is to arrest those responsible for illegal gun trafficking. In this case, the arrest of Mr. Espinoza. This collaboration of law enforcement agencies is designed to rid the streets of ghost guns and other illegal contraband in New York City. It's these partnerships that allow us to share intelligence, coordinate cases, and conduct joint enforcement operations to maximize the resources and impact of many local, state, and federal agencies, all with a singular purpose: the security of our communities and the people who serve them. As postal inspectors, we do this by keeping America's mail safe. Thank you. I'd now like to turn it over to my colleague at the ATF.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian Miller. I'm the Special Agent in Charge for ATF in New York. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Today, I want to commend the men and women of ATF, Manhattan District Attorney's Office, NYPD, HSI, the U.S. Postal Inspectors for their diligent work and collaboration. The actions of this defendant, coordinating firearm sales from inside prison, has been met with swift justice thanks to the tireless work of ATF and our law enforcement partners. This defendant participated in a conspiracy to sell illegal machine gun conversion devices, which pose an extreme risk to the public. ATF's expertise in these types of cases contributed to a swift resolution, stopping the flow of illegal machine guns into our streets. Each gun or device prevented from entering the flow of illegal commerce represents a potential life saved. This investigation speaks to the power of collaboration across agencies, boundaries, and jurisdictions. The agents and officers across many agencies work tirelessly to identify and disrupt this illegal trafficking scheme, stopping the flow of illegal machine guns and other firearms into our community. Our interagency coordination and cooperation is strong in New York City, and we will spare no resource in the fight to reduce violent crime and to keep firearms out of those who will do violence from committing violence. The work we are doing is paying dividends, but one shooting is one too many. As we continue to work together to keep New Yorkers safe. ATF is a federal agency charged with investigating firearms trafficking as one of our primary missions. ATF's experience in combating all forms of firearms trafficking allows us to act as a force multiplier to our law enforcement partners to provide expertise in areas involving emerging threats, such as machine gun conversion devices. However, we cannot do this alone. The strategy to impact violent crime must be comprehensive, and this investigation is a primary example of leveraging technology and partnerships to do just that. ATF will continue to work side by side with our partners, conducting impactful investigations such as this one. I want to thank our partners at the NYPD, HSI, U.S. Postal Inspectors, and of course the Manhattan District Attorney for their partnership, their hard work, and their dedication in this investigation. Thank you.